me. You may recall this morning I stepped off the bench for a little bit of time. I read through the information that was provided to me, which was an email, and then the attachment, which is a color print off. Looks like the person took a screenshot, and that the anonymous post claimed to be a member of the jury on the case, and here are my thoughts on the trial and on this subreddit. And apparently, again, it's a subreddit called Justice for Darrell. All those Justice, the number 4, and Darrell, all no spaces. I then had contact with Captain Dussault, advised him that this should be investigated, and basically turned over the matter to law enforcement for a full investigation. At that point, I made a determination based upon my review of the information that I would not stop what was happening in terms of the trial with the instructions to the jury and ultimately the closing arguments, and then turning the case over to the jury for deliberations. And of course, I am concerned about the integrity of these proceedings, and I will take whatever action that I deem appropriate once a full investigation is done. But at this point, there's no, I would say, credible information that this is in fact a member of the jury. But I will leave that for law enforcement to determine, and of course, if need be, at the conclusion of the case, when the jury reaches a verdict, I certainly will consider whether any questioning of the jurors at that point is warranted. So that's the information I wanted to provide. Again, copies of this information will be provided to the parties, and there is a full investigation underway by the Sheriff's Department. I have no further information about it at this time. I will not be the judge that will further be reviewing it in terms of any requests related to that investigation. I will simply be handling whether any requests as relates to this case in particular. And I hope we have the copies for the parties. And provide those. Go ahead.
I'll make sure you use.
Go ahead.
First. What is this?
All I can tell you, sir, is that there is apparently on the internet, on a site, or maybe it's an application, I'm not entirely sure, called Reddit. There's a subreddit that is entitled Justice for Darrell, and it was on that subreddit that someone wrote an anonymous post claiming to be one of the jurors. That, of course, would be a violation of the rules that I set up for the jurors, which is why I turned over the information to.
All right, I'm going to pause this really quick. So, it's still going on. It's still going on. Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are having a nice night. I don't know about you guys, but watching this trial, y'all, it's only Tuesday, and I walked out the bathroom this afternoon thinking it was Friday. I don't know what I had going on. This is, it's a lot. It's a lot, but fortunately, the actual trial part is over, and the jury is now, like Queen Key said, the jury is now deliberating. Well, they're probably eating right now. They probably eating because the food was supposed to be on the way. So it's just a whole lot of things going on, and as you guys can see, I'm still watching. And I was trying to wait, but I'm like, well, good God, if I sit here and wait for them to finish up for the day, then I'll be sitting here waiting all night, basically. So a lot of people are still watching. Let's see. Oh, goodness. There's still 101 in the chat. I'm gonna go back to that. Really, why can't they come back tomorrow? I think that the judge is holding them for this because Brooks has wasted so much time with all the stalling tactics and stuff. So I think that she's going ahead and trying to like push through as much as she can with them right now, with all those charges and stuff that they have to go through, because we know that at this point we're looking at what, 76 counts that they had to go through, and just through with her reading it, it was like, it was a lot. But let me go back and play this, because they have a situation going on right now.
Make a full and complete investigation.
My bad.
Accept for value in return for value these documents.
So what's going on right now is earlier today, I guess somebody had alerted the court.
Providing the information. I trust that the parties will review it.
Let the judge know that there was someone on Reddit. I guess that's some type of platform. I don't know what it is. But there was someone on Reddit in the chat. I guess it was, and their name was Justice for Darrell, and they were claiming to be one of the jurors in the case.
I don't know how long that will take.
So the judge has them investigating that. They pulled the I guess the messages off the website that the person put up there, and she just presented a copy to the defense and the prosecution. So that's what they're looking at right now. And I paused this, so mine is going to be a little behind what's actually showing.
Yes, the email that was sent to the clerk of court was received at 9:10 a.m.
on the stream, and I turn this back up so you guys can hear it.
That email and the attachment, I'm aware of a second. I will say I'm aware of a second email that was sent to our clerk of court at 10:02 a.m. And I think when we stepped off the bench following the case being given to the jury, I was advised that other emails had been received throughout the court system. And I simply said, obviously, that information needs to go to law enforcement. I haven't seen it, haven't reviewed it. But any person who works in the clerk of court's office who has received an email that email about this topic will be forwarded to the sheriff's department. Their forensic unit is handling the investigation, to my understanding. Attorney Alper, did you have a question or something to state?
Yes, Your Honor, I just wanted to state for the record that I have also received similar emails at my office this afternoon. They were sent not to me directly, but to the district attorney's office website. And I only wanted to point out that in viewing the content of the posting, well, first of all the emails refer to the exact same posting, and the language is the exact same in all the postings. In viewing the content of the posting, we question the veracity of the posting because it refers to things that, quite frankly, are not true. And also, upon reviewing it, Your Honor, we came to the conclusion that it does not exhibit any material prejudice against Darrell Brooks that may affect the veracity of any verdict that may be returned in this case. The posting is largely critical of the court and to some extent the prosecution, but the nature of the posting is actually in support of Mr. Brooks. That's why it's under a subreddit called Justice for Darrell. And I don't believe there's any reasonable reading of this post that would lead someone to believe that it suggests the juror harbors substantial or material prejudice against the defendant.
Thank you. I appreciate the additional record.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Go ahead.
Just briefly skimming through it. I do want to say for the record that I have no involvement with this. I'm really like shocked like this even came to light. I will say just by skimming through it, these are definitely things that have been talked about in the court. So common sense would say that this came from someone that has either been in the court to hear what goes on in the court or a jury member. There's no other way.
Well, actually, the proceedings are live streamed worldwide, Your Honor, available on YouTube worldwide, so I don't agree with that assessment.
Well, it's pretty obvious that this would come from somebody who's actually.
So this just shows you that he didn't realize that the broadcast was being, that the hearing was being
complete investigation. Again, I take the
streamed all over the world.
Process incredibly seriously, and if there were to be a juror who violated the rules, I would take that very seriously, and I will not hesitate to take any action that I deem appropriate. At this time, it is simply being investigated. This was an anonymous post, and if either party believes any further action needs to take place as it relates to this particular jury, then I trust they'll file the appropriate request with the court. So with that, the courtroom, go ahead, I'm sorry. Something else, Attorney Allen?
A different topic, Your Honor.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
While we're all together, I just wanted to address exhibits and what the court's procedure would be. We have no objection to any exhibits going back to the jury room if they are asked for, and precluding the requirement that we all assemble every time.
All right, so I am going to pause this. So as you can see, this is ongoing. So they're looking at the stuff right now to decide. And I don't think that it was a member of the jury. Y'all know how people do in the chats. They go in there, claim to be other people, want to get their little 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. I don't think that that's a member of the jury that is actually doing that, specifically knowing that everything you do on the computer can be traced, or on the phone. Those things can be traced, especially when you're using social media sites. So I don't think that was a person in the jury that put that information up there. Okay, so today was another day that started out with a bang. I'm not going to go over everything that happened between yesterday and today, because a lot of things happened. Darrell was being Darrell. I can honestly say that today, I feel that his temperament was a bit better today. But one of the things that I took notice of, and I've been reading comments, different people's comments. And thank you guys for that commented on the other video. I love reading the comments on you guys' take on the case. A lot of people were saying that he's a narcissist, and they were saying, why didn't you talk about narcissism? Let me say this before I get started. Oh, and another thing that was addressed as well. Let me say this before I get started. I am not on here to attempt to diagnose anyone. We are just having conversation on here at this time. There is nothing clinical about this conversation that we're having. We are just expressing our opinions. I'm expressing my opinions. That's it. That's all. The second thing, for those who will be watching this later, because a lot of people are still in the live, the numbers actually keep going up in the live stream. They didn't like, or a lot of people didn't understand me using the word unalive. We are on a social media platform, and for those of us that have a smaller channel, we have to make sure that we do things that are decent and in order when it comes to our monetization. So there are certain words that YouTube and sites like YouTube don't like being used in your live stream. So for the bigger channels, it doesn't make a difference. But for the smaller channels like this, we have to make sure that we do what we need to do to make sure that our video not only remains monetized, but gets put in and actually stays in the algorithm. So that's why that word on the live is used instead of, actually saying that someone caged somebody or M'd somebody. That's why the word on the live is being used, for those of you who did not know. So there's no disrespect meant to the families, no disrespect meant to any of the victims. in the case. That's just the word that's being used, you know, to try to stay within YouTube's guidelines and still be able to address what's happening in this case. So that real quickly. The next thing, I saw a lot of people using the words, like I said, narcissist. Why didn't you talk about narcissism? Why didn't you say that he was this? Why didn't you say that he was that? Again, everything is my opinion at this point. Do I think that he displays some narcissistic characteristics? Absolutely. But what I would say overall is, for me, it's more so personality overall, not just narcissism. Because if I had to lean towards one or the other, and we're looking at those cluster diagnoses, and I'm going to be looking at antisocial personality disorder, which can also is what a lot of people tend to call, because people are saying, oh, he's a psychopath or he's a sociopath. That's not a real clinical, that's not in the DSM. That's, you know what I'm saying? It's an informal way of addressing something, but it's not, in my world, it's not a real thing. If I'm doing that, I'm actually describing somebody that I probably think more than likely is showing characteristics of an antisocial personality disorder. And the things that fall under that diagnosis is what a lot of people will classify as somebody that is a psychopath or a sociopath. Lacking empathy, showing little to no remorse. The thing that I was talking about the other day, when they're younger, you usually see they have conduct disorders. We talked about oppositional defiant disorder. I'm seeing that in Darrell as an adult, like what that looks like as an adult, not being able to function within the social norms, possibly having lack of impulse control, emotional impulse control. You just all over the place. May come across as physical, but not necessarily physical at all times, but could possibly come across as aggressive. The behaviors could be aggressive. Angie, how you doing? How you doing? So that's why I'm not like really pinpointing one thing. It's my understanding that the paperwork that was done on him and evaluations that were done, that they felt like he did have some type of personality disorder. But just because someone has personality, has the characteristics, let's say, of what we think a narcissist is, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have a clinical diagnosis of narcissism or narcissistic personality behavior disorder. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have that clinical diagnosis. They could just have some of those qualities. They could exhibit some of those characteristics of a narcissist and not have that clinical diagnosis. Whenever it comes to the antisocial personality disorder, that's why I always tell people on my channel when they talk about, oh, I'm antisocial, I wish people would stop saying that they were antisocial, because in my world, if you're antisocial, then we got a problem. we got a problem. Like, that's not a good thing. It's actually the opposite of what you think it is. It's not about you sitting there and not wanting to be around people and keeping to yourself. And it's kind of not that. So I just want to be careful with the words and the labels that I put out there, because people take things back and they use them a certain way. So I want to make sure that I am being careful with that. But if you guys have any questions about how I may be viewing or covering something, just let me know. Let me check this real quick. Let me see what they're talking about.
I don't even know what I'm looking at if I look that far.
Okay, so another one of the things that I wanted to speak on really quick. Okay, a lot of people don't want to go with the idea that he has some type of psychiatric issue, psychiatric, diagnosis or whatever. Like, he's responsible for what he did. Let's be clear on something. Just because you have a mental health diagnosis, a psychiatric diagnosis, that does not mean that you are not aware of what's going on around you. That does not mean that you cannot function as a normal human being. That doesn't mean that you can't go to work. Now, in some people, there are cases where, you know, they're like, they aren't able to do those things. But in a lot of cases, no, that's not the case. And for a lot of individuals, unless they told you that they had some stuff going on, and you wouldn't even know, unless they were actually dealing with some type of psychotic disorder or some real personality disorders, then more than likely you wouldn't know. If they're dealing with deep depression, maybe that's something that you might see, or they have serious bouts of anxiety and they're having panic attacks or anxiety attacks. That's something that you might see, but it's not like what everybody may be thinking. Like, there's a myth out there. Not only is there a stigma, but there's a myth whenever it comes to mental health and what people think that looks like. So I just want to make sure that I touch on that really quick. And I want to question the people that are in here. I want you to really ask yourself this. It's not about his defense. This is over now. It's in the jury's hands. So that part, it is what it is. Do you really think a person that does not have some type of mental health issue would be able to do something like this? That's the thing that I want people to see. We're going to dab into abnormal psychology. The behaviors are not normal. They're not normal. The average person that's sitting here, no, they wouldn't be able to go and run over some people and just pummel over people. No, they would not be able to do that. And to be able to walk away like nothing happened, to go and even in court, you know, with a straight face, never deny doing it, but can sit there and like literally present his own case. There's something there, the back and forth with the judges, the mood changing, like just like that, the impulsivity in the courtroom. These are things that are not normal behaviors. These are not normal behaviors. Now, after doing some searching, it appears that Brooks did have, we talked about him having charges before with cannabis. This is a little bit deeper than cannabis. There's been, there's allegedly a history of some meth use, some other things. Allegedly, let me be clear on that, allegedly. So those things would also play a part, especially with someone that already has some pre-existing issues going on. So like everything plays a part. That's why you have to be careful when you use certain substances. And I'm not saying that this is his issue, but this is why you have to be careful when you use certain substances, because you don't know like how that chemical imbalance is in your body, in your mind. You don't know. You don't have, like, you don't know. So when you go and start mixing other stuff up with that, especially this stuff with all these chemicals in it, and you don't know, you know that the chemicals that they have in it, that they're not good for your body, like, you know that, and you already have some type of chemical imbalance, then you're really about to mess up some stuff. And I said up some stuff. So yeah, let's see really quick. I'm checking to see if I'm missing anything.
Any reason why we need to be played twice?
And I just would note that the jury foreperson wrote yesterday's date. It is the 25th. My date will be.
I'm gonna put this back up. Thanks, Angie. They just asked for
Scrivener's error on their part, putting the 24th versus the 25th.
some information. The jury just asked for some information.
So I can't really fault them.
So let me turn this down because I know there's an echo.
Comes out asking for one exhibit.
And let me refresh that so it'll be back in real time.
The new technology, it's easier just to do that, play it twice, than to bring them out and for them to say stop, and then can you go back and can we watch it again? Because that's my experience. So I'm really trying to avoid that. So we'll stay out here, and then we'll work to, they'll have to pause their deliberations so we can interrupt them and give them the exhibits, and then make sure the technology is working. So if the state wants to have that ready to go,
Set for value and return for value these documents. Right?
thank you.
Now I can tell you for those who have been watching that Brooks has basically admitted to doing it. I think the question at this point is whether or not it was intentional. I think that's one of the things that the jury is going to actually struggle with. If there's any kickback or pushback from some members of the jury, I think it's going to be whether or not they feel that the prosecution actually proved their case in intentionality. Was it actually intentional? Not whether or not he did it. Not whether or not he did it. That's not a question on whether or not he did it.
Just video.
Okay, thank you.
His motive for doing it is not even in question. It's about whether or not it was intentional. Did he intentionally try to unalive those people? Did he operate that vehicle with the sole intention of unaliving those people that he hit with that SUV? So again, he's facing 76 counts. And the one, like I said, that I think is going to come to question is first degree intentional homicide. And I don't know if you two gonna get me for that word or not, but that's going to be that intentional piece. I think that's going to be the main thing. And I'll even go back and say this. He had an outburst this morning briefly, but today, out of every day in his trial, this is the best day that he has had behavioral wise. And if you guys, if you disagree with me, let me know. But this is the best day that he has had behaviorally, like actually being able to sit calm. I didn't even think that was possible for him in all of this. But I think there's a certain degree of, that reality starts kicking in as well. And from listening to his closing, because he did his closing arguments today. That's why the jury is deliberating at this time. You can tell that he had some conversations. I'm pretty sure he had some conversations with his mom, because some of the stuff that he was saying, I'm like, yeah, he got that from his mom. Like the conversation that he was having about God. And y'all know when people get in trouble, folks don't want to hear you talking about God. They say you got that jailhouse religion. I'm not going to comment on that because I don't want to be the one to question, if God is working on somebody. I don't want to be that person. But the stuff that he was saying, I'm like, he's up there with that Bible. I'm like, his mama done gave him a scripture to read over, because that's what mamas do. Read over Matthew, 1st chapter, 5th verse. Like, she done gave him some scriptures to read. That's what he's looking at in that Bible. And the conversation that he was having, that was mom. Want to get life regardless. Lady Diva, what's going on? Want to get life regardless, rather it was intentional. Well, I didn't go and research the penalties for the reckless endangerment.
Is that how you say it, Reddit?
That's my understanding.
So, hold on, y'all.
This particular person is who the email was sent from, the person at the top of the page?
Do you have the email that has the 9:10 a.m.? That's my understanding, yes.
Were they identified to have any connection with the trial in any way?
I'm leaving the entire investigation in the hands of the sheriff's department. I can't answer that. I'm sure they're looking into it though, because that's a good question.
Maybe he had his medication too. He was a little better today. Hello, Dimes. Why didn't his mom show up if she was giving him advice? You know, his mom had already said that she wasn't trying to be involved in that. You know, sometimes you people, you make a bed for yourself. You know, I'm still your family. I still love you, but you're gonna have to deal with this. And I'm pretty sure his mom didn't want to, be on TV and the news cameras and all that stuff there. And it's a lot. It's a lot to even have people come to you asking questions about why your child did these things, and they want you to answer for what your child did, even though your child is a grown man.
All right, I'm gonna step off. Obviously, the courtroom remains open, and we'll let you know if there are any additional questions.
Subject matter jurisdiction, Your Honor.
Boy, if you don't leave that subject matter jurisdiction mess
Addressing
alone.
it for the record.
Do you not realize that the jury is deliberating at this time? They don't care about subject matter or jurisdiction. Like that, bless his heart, bless his little asthmatic heart. So the judge just stepped back off the bench. The judge said, look, y'all go and do what y'all want to do. Judge said she had to eat her food. She got to eat her food. And said she was tired. Y'all, they have been up there all day. It's 8:38 here, 7:38 there. So that's what's going on with that. And we'll keep this up here in case some stuff goes on or they come back on. Because if the jury needs something, I'm assuming that the live stream, the Courttv live stream, is going to be in there as long as they are in there today. So I have it running on my cell phone. So as long as they have the stuff going on, and I'll still have it running on here, and I will keep y'all advised if something comes up while we are on here. So his mama knew he had mental illness problems a long time ago. And see, that's the thing. We don't know if those issues have even been addressed thank you for putting that up there, Lady Diva, because that was one of the things that I actually wanted to address on here tonight for the people that say a lot about the mental health issues. Do understand that could have been at least praying that a quick verdict comes in. What's up, Angela? That could have been something that he rolled out. And that's what further would give me the impression, if I'm just somebody on the outside looking in and understanding some of this stuff, that's what further, it gives me a deeper sense of what he may be dealing with mentally, because having a mental health issue is something that he would not claim.
What's the significance of seeing it as different speeds? Was that in the question?
That's something that he would not. Okay, so we're back up. Hold on.
They just said, can we see Exhibit 55 at 40% speed? Obviously, I don't recall specifically if this video was shown at a reduced speed, but many of the videos were shown at reduced speed during the trial. That was allowed. I think it's proper to also show a video clip to the jurors if they request it at reduced speed. So I'll grant the request.
What would be the significance?
The significance is the jury's requesting it, sir.
I'm saying at that speed.
She doesn't know.
Request, I can't tell you the significance for them. I don't want to speculate, but I think it's proper given the technology that we have available and what was done during the trial. So we'll allow it.
So why even ask me if I have a position?
Because that's what I'm required to do, sir.
But you're not required to address subject matter jurisdiction.
Boy, you doing good now. You better hush.
Not allowed to answer.
You've been doing okay for a couple hours now. Just
Mr. Brooks, I'm not going to relitigate your case right now. And I've made my decision on subject matter jurisdiction, so your request that I address it once again is denied.
Of course it's denied. Of course, because you can't prove it on record. Come on now.
Now, see, the longer they keep him in there,
has to be proven that.
and he already antsy and already asked about going back to his cell and going back to his unit, being able to get the little shower, because they only get 2 showers a week. And people thought that was like ridiculous. I'm like, okay, I can understand that some people don't understand jail or prison life as well. I'm just saying that just to give that some context. Now, those showers are crucial. Okay, those showers are crucial when you fighting to get in the shower, because that's a fight all day. But that's neither here nor there. So what I was saying is he did not use mental health.
40% speed. Yay, nay.
He did not use mental health as a defense. And I'm sitting up here thinking, like, that's kind of like the only thing that you really had to.
Video clip has now ended with the state just confirmed the speed at which it was just played.
Yes, 40%, Your Honor.
Thank you.
That he possibly could have held onto, and that's exactly what he chose not to do. And one of
There's another question the court's going to step off.
the last one of the videos that I did previously, there was a person in the chat that said that him or her, he or she, had been a defense attorney for several years. So I asked them what would their defense be if they were defending him, or would they even defend him at all? Facts, he doesn't get humane rights once he decides to unalive those people. Prosecutors and judge are gonna need a vacation. Child, we all gonna need a vacation after this. We all gonna need a vacation. Let me see if I can pull his comments really quick, because I thought it was pretty interesting. Let's see if I can pull it. Where is it? And that's another thing too, while I'm looking at these comments, guys, I'm not on here to convince you guys either way. You know what I mean? Like, this is for you to express what you think, what you see going on right now, so you can make an informed decision or have an informed opinion. It's not about, me. I don't get anything out of trying to get someone to agree with me. This is just an open dialogue about what's going on. So is this the right one? Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to go to the video. No, that's not it. But there were a lot of good comments. There were a lot of good comments on that video, and I appreciated them. I appreciate reading them even more. Okay, that is it. So, pause this. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. I won't say the person's name because I did not let them know that I was going to be reading it, but I will read it. I have been a criminal defense lawyer for 28 years, and I have never seen nor heard of anything this bizarre. This is one of those rare generational legal cases whose effects will be felt for a long time. I feel that he will be convicted, and the jury probably won't deliberate for very long. This case will be groundbreaking in terms how we address mental health in our court system. Also, the record that is being established in this case should establish a precedent for how courts address issues raised by sovereign citizens. The state of Wisconsin may revisit a pro se defendant's right to stand by counsel. I'm also sure the death penalty in Wisconsin will receive some attention after this case. people will be discussing and analyzing the state of Wisconsin versus Darrell Brooks Jr. for many years to come and for many different reasons. So I responded back because I thought that was interesting. Thank you, Lady Diva. I thought that was interesting. So I said, how would you defend this client, or would you even take this type of case on? And the response that I got back, and if you are watching, thank you so much for your response. I appreciate that. Darrell Brooks, Darrell Brooks presents so many substantial, complex challenges. The facts in this case are so overwhelming that my strategy would be to plead him guilty and focus more on the sentencing phase of the case, sort of like what was done in the Parkland shooting case. I would try to get him a sentence in which he would eventually be eligible for parole. I would focus on his mental health and try to draw a connection between his mental health challenges and what occurred on that day. And I think that this is not this person talking. I think that that's what the attorneys, the public defenders that he had, I think that was the direction that they were going in. And his ego would not allow, because he's supposed to be this, he's supposed to be gang banging and doing a rapper and doing all this stuff. So he doesn't want anybody to think that he has any type of mental illness or any type of mental deficiencies going on. So no, like that just completely goes against his whole persona. So this person finished, what I have seen in the trial, the citizens of Waukesha appear to be intelligent and compassionate. It is possible that if the evidence of mental illness is significant and presented properly before the court, he could receive a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. But given the road that he has chosen to pursue, my guess is if he is convicted, he will be sentenced to as much time as possible without any chance of parole. This is based on his behaviors. Demetra, hey, how you doing, lady? This is based on his behavior and performances in court. My response back to that, I totally agree. I wonder if that was the direction the public defenders were headed, and his pride wouldn't allow them to address any possible mental health issues. He claims to be a thug in this video, so the perception of a mental illness doesn't match that persona. I agree that the witnesses all seem to be compassionate even through their pain. He continues to cut off his nose despite his face, and I honestly don't believe he realizes the self-inflicted damage he's causing to his own case. In hindsight, I guess he did the attorneys a favor by releasing them, because this is a lot to take on. And the last comment, I didn't even read this one. Well said, I tend to believe that his previous lawyers were planning some type of mental health defense and probably his own bravado. I think I did, let me like that. And possibly his own bravado, and possibly some other inmates in jail caused him to go along with the sovereign citizen path. I have represented people before, and never they claimed to be sovereign citizens, and not surprisingly, it dropping the sovereign citizen claim meant little or no time in jail. Usually the sovereign citizen claim was quickly dropped. I am pretty certain that his prior lawyers are extremely relieved to be out of this case. I concur. I concur. So that was one of the things that I was interested in, because it's like when all else fails, a lot of times with these cases that I have seen, that I had witnessed myself, like for a lot of people, that's that go-to. Yeah, I had these issues going on, and I just mental health is like a crutch for some people in these types of situations, and that's not a road that he tried to go down. He was not interested in that at all. And I was waiting when he was doing his closing arguments. I'm like, is he even gonna, try to punt, in that? But no. He went with the God thing, with the Bible and that stuff, and putting his kids in it, throwing them out there. And, he tried to play the sympathy card, in my opinion. He tried to play the sympathy card with the jury and telling them, I know you're going to do the right thing. Angela, and that's the thing. That's the thing that a lot of people don't get. I think, let me put that on the screen. When people are dealing with these types of issues, that's what makes them difficult to treat. Because a lot of them, they don't seek treatment. Most of the time, if I've come in contact with someone with this type of diagnosis, it's usually through the criminal justice system. And it's usually not on a voluntary basis. It's because you have been court ordered to come and see me, for us to even have this conversation. You have been ordered. You didn't freely and willingly just decide, you know what? I think I have some, some traits of something that I need addressed. No, it's because someone else saw it in them and they basically mandated that they get some kind of treatment. The only thing is, whenever you're dealing with a situation where a person does not realize that they even have something going on, if they don't realize it, and that's when it's a little bit tricky. And when you're dealing with someone that can have antisocial characteristics, that's something that's a whole lot different, because we're going to use some cognitive behavioral techniques. That's going to be like the go-to. We're going to do some psychotherapy, probably, a little med administration, like whatever combination of things we need to do to try to help. But still, at the end of the day, there has to be some type of realization. You either have to work with them on trying to get them to see how their behaviors are affecting other people, or get them to see how their behaviors are affecting them. You got to try to get them to recognize the consequences of their behaviors, being able to recognize the behaviors themselves, because that's a problem for people, being able to recognize those behaviors. That's a child, that's a beast all by itself. So you find yourself, doing those, we call them the 1, 2, 3s, the ABCs, 1, 2, 3, all that of behavior. You got to trying to get them to recognize that stuff. Now, I want to be clear in saying this and having this conversation. Please do know that I am not saying that if these things are present, that is an excuse for what he did. And I will stand on that, because he didn't use it as an excuse for what he did. Even though we can clearly see by watching this live stream that there are some very apparent issues going on with him. Some things you just can't act out. Eventually, it dies out. You can't act forever. And these things, the way that he is acting, you can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. I have dealt with a lot of Darrells. A lot of them. And for some, yes, you do have to have the patience of Job. Okay? You have to have that patience, because some stuff will come out from complete left field and you like, where in the world did that come from? You sitting up there thinking that everything is good, everything is calm, and then they just blow up out of the blue off something that it might have been something y'all talked about the previous week. It could have been something that you guys talked about the previous month. And it just popped back up in their head, and they can't control the emotions behind it, and that impulse is. And so you're sitting there and you're having to talk someone down, and you're sitting there like the judge. That's why I commend this judge. I see a lot of people are talking trash about her in the chat. I give her kudos. I'm like, shoot, she might have a degree in psychology too, because the way that she is handling him, he cannot be the first person that she handled like that. He is not the first person that she has come in contact with in order for her to be able to deal with his tantrums and his outbursts and the continuing disrespect. He is not the first person that she dealt with. And here's the thing, y'all, it takes some special people for this. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, because when you're dealing with this type of behavior, yeah, they don't care about hurting your feelings. They don't care at all about hurting your feelings. For some of them, I don't know if that may be the goal. I don't know. But that lack of empathy, that remorsefulness, you may get, an apology out of it. But yeah, and they'll come back and do the same thing to you a couple minutes later. I'm sorry for what I did. I know I was wrong. And then in the next few minutes, they're going back at you again. Like they didn't just apologize for their behaviors. And that judge used all the degrees. Lady Diva, I promise she did. To this day, she's still using them. She used all the degrees in psychology. She was very patient and did an awesome job, because he had been tossed out of there. Child, I'm telling you, just today, because he had an outburst today for those, and I'll play that since they have this stuff going on. Let me try to see if I can find that really quick. Just today, because he had a little cursing moment. Well, he threw a little hell up in there. You don't know. Or I heard what the hell you said, huh? Who you talking to? Who you talking to? That's when you sometimes you feel like you have to put that professionalism to the side and you be like, look, don't let the smooth taste fool you. Like who you talking to? And the funny thing is, and I know I shouldn't get a kick out of it, but looking at the judge's face, she's like, well, you don't even know. And then looking at the prosecution table, they like, this shit didn't. So I'm just sitting there looking at people's facial expressions. Let me give you guys a recap on that. My. Let's see. Little playback action on this. So pause that real quick so I can get it up for you.
Do you have any requests?
First of all,
Related to the jury instructions, sir.
yeah, I got requests. It ain't like they gonna be honored though.
As it relates to the jury instructions, sir, what are your...
I heard what the hell you said, man.
Well, Mr. Brooks, that was very disrespectful.
Yeah, and I didn't get disrespected since the beginning of this whole process. So welcome to the club.
Mr. Brooks, do you have any requests?
I'm tired of my race being trying around here too. I'm tired of it too.
Do you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions?
How you gonna sit up here and make decisions based on what you think I said when I didn't consent for you to do any such thing?
So I understand you may be upset, and I really do, and I made my hesitations.
You don't understand, You don't.
We are, I'm gonna mute him again because he's not answering the questions that I'm very clearly asking him, and I've given him 5 opportunities. Mr. Brooks, do you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions? I'll unmute you for that answer. Mr. Brooks. I know the audio is turned up. I believe you can hear me. You've chosen not to put the headphones on. That's your choice. My final question to you: do you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions? No. Then you should put the headphones on.
So let me pause this really quick. Just watching this, is there any question about this guy's behavior being erratic? This is what erratic behavior looks like. This is what we would call this behavior. Are we really going to sit here and argue or have a debate about whether or not he has legit mental health issues? I mean, seriously. We're not here to diagnose him, but are we really going to sit here and argue that he has legit bona fide mental health issues? Let's continue.
About that, don't you understand? If you see headphones, you can see everything. You can see boxes. You can see headphones.
Have you asked for headphones to be provided?
Look at his mannerisms.
I shouldn't have to ask for it. I asked for my boxes to be moved.
I believe they took them away previously because you were so agitated. They were perhaps afraid you might break
Yeah,
them.
I'm still agitated. I'm going to stop being agitated. That ain't going to stop. Sit up here and do everything you're doing. And think God don't see what you're doing.
He done pulled a guy card.
Mr. Brooks, do you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions?
I didn't hear what they saying. I didn't hear what they saying.
You
You just told me you didn't.
So which one is
Yeah, I
it?
got the headphones on. You can't hear that?
What are
What are
your
your
requests
requests
as
as
it
it
relates?
relates?
What are you?
Press pause. Who talks to a judge like that? Who? Understanding that that judge, after that jury rules, once they finish deliberating, that judge is going to be deciding that sentence. Now, somebody that was truly rationalizing some situations and were really there, they would understand. If anything, not telling you to kiss up, but if anything, if you give everybody else the devil, you sure better act like you know with that judge. Some people tend to think that it's just about her being a woman. I disagree. I don't think it's about her being a woman. Because I feel like if he had a chance to go off on anybody in this situation, he's going to go off. Number one, because he doesn't feel like and people got upset with me about that. I honestly do not think he remembers the actual point when he ran over these people. Even down to the prosecution admitting that they feel like he did this when he was in a rage. He got offended by the fact that they said that he was enraged. They want to say I had some kind of rage or something. Like, he doesn't even understand. Don't get me, I'm not saying he's slow. But when it comes to the perception of him having any type of mental health issues, he is not, no, he's not going to let you put him in that category. You're not going to give him that tag. Like, that's just not, it's not. So when I sit here and I'm looking, I'm like, yeah, no, it kind of feels like deja vu to me. Nobody in their correct mind will ever scream at the person that turned. Exactly, Bruce. Exactly. Completely out of control. Let's go back.
Your requests as it relates to the jury instructions, sir.
Man, don't try to come with this whole little sir. That was all these sir and all these. I'm gonna get where I'm going.
Where you going?
Try to put on this little act like you so worried about what's going on with me. You don't give a damn. Never did.
Mr. Brooks, you're being disrespectful again.
You've been being disrespectful. You've been being disrespectful.
I need to know what your position is regarding the jury instructions. And I need to know it now. I'm talking to you. I need to know whether you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions.
Yeah, first of all, why am I charging you bill jumping when I'm charging bill jumping?
It's not double jeopardy. Your objection is noted and it's overruled.
It is double jeopardy. I can charge you the same charge I'm already charging you. You can't do that. The Fifth Amendment says that you can't place somebody in jeopardy of life and limb. Twice. I'm already charged with the same count. People want this for the same case. It's the same bill jumping charge. So how am I charged with that here?
Sir, I'm not going to provide a legal explanation other than to say I reviewed that. Your objection is noted. But the jury will be instructed regarding the bail jumping.
Under the law, if two charges are identical in nature, you cannot place it in jeopardy of life and limb twice. Can't do that.
What's your next request, sir? I'm noting your objection.
I'm trying to talk. Can I get it out? You always not interrupt you, but you always talk over me.
I understand your position. I'm saying it's overruled.
Can't charge me for the same exact bill that I'm already charged before this came about.
So the bail jumping charges in Waukesha County are based upon your violating your bail while in Waukesha County by driving through the Christmas parade and allegedly killing six people and injuring 61 others. So I'll read a modified version of instruction 50.
Okay, so let me do this. So if he was someone that was being seen and he was, let's say he was under 18, right? And he was brought in as a juvenile. Okay. So when I say his behaviors look like that of what we would call oppositional defiant disorder, that's something that is usually diagnosed in adolescence and childhood. But as an adult, we have to think about what that looks like now. Bruce, I believe you said you do some stuff with mental health, so you will definitely you should be able to relate to this one. Oppositional defiant disorder. This is coming from the DSM. Y'all know how my DSM is. This is not the updated DSM. This is still the DSM-4. This is the one I have here. It's falling apart. Yeah. Okay. So that's neither here nor there. If y'all want to contribute to a new DSM-4 for me to have at home, I would definitely take it. Okay. So oppositional defiant disorder is described as a pattern of negative. I can't even talk. A pattern of negative, hostile, and defiant behavior lasting at least 6 months, during which 4 or more of the following are present. So I'm going to read off 8 of those. There are eight characteristics that they have listed, and in order for them to get that diagnosis, they have to show at least 4. They have to exhibit at least 4 of those that are on that list. So the first one is often loses temper. That's the first one. So I need y'all to put y'all thinking caps on real quick. The first one is often loses temper. The second one is often argues with adults. The third one is often actively defies or refuses to comply with the adults' requests or rules. That's number 3. I'm going to read that again. Often actively defies or refuses to comply with adults' requests or rules. Number 4, often deliberately annoys people. Number 5, often blames others for his or her mistakes or misbehavior. Number 6, is often touchy or easily annoyed by others. Number 7, is often angry and resentful. Number 8, is often spiteful or vindictive. Now, in order for them to completely get this diagnosis, there has to be some other factors that come into play. Disturbance in behavior causes clinically significant impairment in their social, academic, occupational functioning, if they had a job. Behaviors do not occur exclusively during the course of a psychotic or a mood disorder. The criteria are not met for conduct disorder, and if the individual is age 18 years or older, criteria are not met for antisocial personality disorder. So we got like a couple things that as a youth that he may have this if we have that 6-month history there, but more than likely he's going to get a conduct disorder not otherwise specified, or could possibly get a disruptive behavior not otherwise specified, or NOS. So you look at those things that I just raised that they're back in court. Let's go back.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. For the record to reflect, I have the 12 jurors who have been deliberating, plus the 3 alternates who were sequestered in a different jury room. I want to give you kind of a modified instruction from the one that you've heard many, many times throughout this trial. Of course, for the 12 who have already started to deliberate, do not deliberate unless you're in the jury deliberation room.
So she's about to dismiss them.
Means you are discharged here tonight until you come back tomorrow in the jury deliberation room. Do not discuss this case among yourselves or anyone else until you are deliberating in the jury room. This order is not limited to face-to-face conversations. It also extends to all forms of electronic communications. Do not use any electronic devices such as a mobile phone or computer, text or instant messaging or social networking sites to send or receive any information about this case or your experience as a juror. I realize you are sequestered. We've taken away all of those things, but I'm just going to keep reading through this. If you come in contact with the parties, lawyers, interpreters, or witnesses, do not speak with them. For their part, the parties, lawyers, interpreters, and witnesses will not contact or speak with the jurors. Do not listen to any conversation about this case. Do not research any information that you personally think might be helpful to you in understanding the issues presented. Do not investigate this case on your own or visit the scene either in person or by any electronic means. Do not read any newspaper reports or listen to any news reports on radio, television, over the internet, or any other electronic application or tool about this trial. Do not consult dictionaries, computers, electronic applications, social media, the internet, or other reference materials for additional information. Do not seek information regarding the public records of any party or witness in this case. Any information you obtain outside the courtroom could be misleading, inaccurate, or incomplete. Relying on this information is unfair because the parties would not have the opportunity to refute, explain, or correct it. Do not communicate with anyone about this trial or your experience as a juror while you are serving on this jury. Do not use a computer, cell phone, or other electronic device, including personal wearable electronics, applications, or tools with communication capabilities to share any information about this case. For example, do not communicate by telephone, blog post, email, text message, instant message, social media post, or in any other way on or off the computer. Do not permit anyone to communicate with you about this matter, either in person, electronically, or by any other means. If anyone does so despite your telling them not to, you should report that to me. I know you're not going home. You're going to another location, but do not discuss this case among yourselves with any other juror until you are back in the jury deliberation room tomorrow. This case must be decided by you, the jurors, based on the evidence presented in the courtroom. People not serving on this jury have not heard the evidence, and it is improper for them to influence your deliberations and decision in this case. After this trial is completed, you are free to communicate with anyone in any manner. These rules are intended to assure that jurors remain impartial throughout the trial. If any juror has reason to believe that another juror has violated these rules, you should report that to me. If jurors do not comply with these rules, it could result in a new trial involving additional time and significant expense to the parties and the taxpayers. You are to decide the case solely on the evidence offered and received at the trial. With that, you are all excused for the evening. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. All rise for the jury. All right, thank you, everyone. We are in recess. We'll see everyone tomorrow morning at 8:30. 8:30 a.m. I trust that the jail will give you a shower, so whether that's tonight or tomorrow morning before you come back to court.
Yes.
But I will order that.
Good morning. Yes, 8:30.
8:30.
He's got to be some eyesight thing going on.
That's when we start court every morning, sir.
No, it haven't been. You didn't get some switch.
Can y'all hear me now? Can y'all hear me now? Test, test, test. Can you hear me? Okay. I had turned the volume down because I saw that there was an echo. So appreciate for letting me know. Thank y'all for letting me know. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What's going on, Anthony? What is going on? What is going on? Okay, so oppositional defiant disorder. Angela's talking here about her daughter being diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder and refusing therapy, refusing any meds as an adult, almost 40 now. Her husband ran for the hills 5 years ago, and she cut me off 5 years ago, maybe. Listen, it's one of those things, especially when you're dealing with a young individual. What's going on, Big Red? No, they didn't force them to decide. They are actually, they've been released for the day. They've been sequestered. So they are more than likely they put them up in a hotel room somewhere. Y'all still can't hear me? Hold up. Okay. So they'll put them up in a hotel room somewhere. That's why she went over these instructions with them once again. Don't talk to each other about the case. Don't be talking to all these people. Don't be having any private conversations amongst each other about what you think should be done or anything that happened during the day. That's why she's going over all this stuff. And I'm telling you, once again, just my opinion. This judge rocks to me. Listen, we can agree to disagree on this, but this judge rocks because it takes a special person to be able to handle individuals like this. And more than anything, I think that in this particular situation, I think that she wants to make sure that she does not let these families and the victims of these families down by doing anything that could possibly force an appeal, anything that he could possibly say that the court did wrong. Because he's going to appeal. We know he's going to appeal, but to actually have grounds for that appeal, well, he's going to attempt to appeal. To actually have grounds for that appeal, this judge, and I'm going to jump out there and say the prosecution, because I have never seen a prosecution, the team, I have never seen them be this helpful to the defense. Even in the midst of all the tantrums and the disrespect and all this. Well, all right. Okay, I guess they wanted to be seen. So I don't this is different. I have been in court a lot. Okay. And this is different. This is different for me. I have never seen this. So this is, yeah, it takes a special person. It definitely takes a special person. So prayers go out to that judge. Yeah, Miss Susan Opper. She's like, look, we've been doing enough for you. We have been doing enough for you, and you unappreciative. I'm pretty sure she got all kinds of words because she done dropped a couple words at that table too. But it's, you sit up there and that's the thing. all of them are really trying to, I know people may not understand it, they may not get it, but you understand when people got certain, well, a lot of people do. Let me not say everybody, but a lot of times, depending on what type of work you're in, you understand that people have certain issues going on, because for some people you can see it. So you tend to try to be a bit more empathetic, not sympathetic, but a bit more empathetic to their situation, so that you can try to handle the situation the right way and not aggravate or further aggravate a situation. So that's what I'm seeing with this judge. And I have seen it with the prosecutors. You know, people were getting mad. Why is the DA helping him? Why are they giving him paperwork? Why are they helping him with this? Why are they helping him with that? I feel like it's because they also see there's something there. Even with his charm, when he's not on 100, you talk to him long enough, I feel like you'll still see that there is something there. I don't know exactly what his trigger is. It seems that one of them is just anybody of authority seems to be a trigger for him. And it goes back to this oppositional defiant disorder, not wanting to obey the rules of adults. Now, these are behaviors that you have as an adolescent. And when this carries into adulthood, now you're looking at a possible antisocial personality disorder, because this is what this stuff is looking now. You don't want to operate. You don't want to obey social norms. You do not feel like you have to operate in the confines of social norms. I guess that's why he declared himself a sovereign citizen too. Again, and we'll pull the book out on this one again. So you have different types of personality disorders. Again, I am not diagnosing him. I'm just giving you guys some information that you could go and do something with. Go and look. Don't be running around here trying to diagnose anybody, but do take the information and go and do your own research and see whatever you can do with that. Whew, child. You have the general diagnostic criteria for a personality disorder, not narcissistic personality disorder, not antisocial personality disorder, not paranoid just personality disorder as a whole. An enduring pattern of inner experience and behavior that deviates markedly from the expectations of the individual's culture. The pattern is manifested in two or more of the following ways. Cognition, their ways of perceiving and interpreting self, people, or events, and the range, intensity, lability, and appropriateness of emotional response, interpersonal function, emotional impulse control. The enduring pattern is inflexible and pervasive across a broad range of personal and social situations. The enduring pattern lends to clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other areas of functioning. For the pattern is stable and of long duration. The onset can be traced back to at least adolescence or early adulthood. The enduring pattern is not better accounted for as a manifestation or consequence of another mental disorder. Okay, this is considered a cluster B personality disorder. This is one of those cluster B personality disorders, antisocial personality disorder, ASPD. You may see it listed as that, but this is a pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others occurring since age 15 years, as indicated by three or more of the following. Let me preface this by saying we know that just from the trial, when the initial hearings, that we know that his criminal record goes back at least to 19 years of age, at least as early as 19 years of age. So we don't know how much further back it actually goes. Okay. So you have a pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others occurring since age 15, as indicated by three or more of the following. And I am going to give you seven. They have to exhibit at least three of these Failure to conform to social norms, which is what we were just talking about, with respect to lawful behaviors as indicated by repeatedly performing acts that are grounds for arrest. This would be where the repeat arrest comes from. This would be where it seems like there's he has high rates of recidivating. This is where some of this may come in at. Deceitfulness, as indicated by repeated lying, use of aliases, or conning others for personal profit. One of the first things we heard him do in the video, he was lying to the officers off the rip. Like they just came quickly. Impulsivity, failure to plan ahead, irritability, and aggressiveness, as indicated by repeated physical fights or assaults. Reckless disregard for safety of others or self. Consistent irresponsibility is indicated by repeated failure to sustain consistent work behavior or honor financial obligations. Lack of remorse, as indicated by being indifferent to or rationalizing having hurt, mistreated, or stolen from another. The individual is at least 18 years old. There's evidence of conduct disorder, which is what we were talking about before. With onset before age 15. Okay, so a lot of times you guys heard me saying that there's definitely like there may be some, well, I won't get into that. We'll do that on another day. There's definitely some there. And like I said, I'm not going to get on here and try to diagnose Mr. Brooks, but there's definitely some there. And I feel like there's room for conversation. And I'm hoping that regardless of what the end result is with the convictions and the sentencing and all that stuff, I'm hoping that he allows himself to get the treatment that he needs, because he definitely needs some treatment. He definitely needs that. And on top of the fact that now, not only are you dealing with issues that you already had, now you also got to deal with the fact that you took these people's lives and hurt these other people. So even with that, you're looking at trauma, not just to the families and the victims that are still here, but you even looking at trauma on his end. Because when that thing hit, I don't think it hit yet. When that thing hits and it really sink in, what happens, and that may not happen till after sentencing. It may not happen this year, but when it hits, it's going to hit. The prosecutor helped the judge also to try and come to common grounds with him. Right, Demetra. Yeah, I mean, it was just a lot. I have never seen anything like it. I honestly haven't seen anything like it before. So it's interesting. It is definitely interesting. Okay, so they will be coming back on tomorrow at 8:30. So Eastern Standard Time, it's going to be 9 o'clock, 9:30 my time. Whatever coast you guys are on, make sure if you're tuning in, you on it, got the right time. But we'll definitely be looking at this tomorrow. I don't feel like I don't think the jury is going to complete deliberations on tomorrow, but I could be wrong, because it's a lot of stuff to go through. And this early in the game, they're just getting started and they're asking for evidence, to go back and look at evidence and stuff like that. And with them starting so late this afternoon, I mean, is it possible that they could, come up with something tomorrow? Yes, absolutely possible. Are they going to do it? I don't know. The likelihood of that with all 76 charges, and I feel like there are going to be some deep discussions on whether or not the prosecution actually proved intent. I think that's where the discussions are going to take place, with that intent conversation. Not saying that he did not do it. He has actually admitted to doing it. But did the prosecution actually prove that he intended to unalive those people? That's going to be the question for them to answer. And I think when you're going through that jury instruction sheet and answering those questions, and everything is, if it's this, then it has to be this. If you feel it's this, then it has to be that. That's usually where the hang-ups come in at. So anyway, don't want to hold you guys on here long. I just want to do a quick recap of what is going on and what we have to look forward to coming up with this whole ordeal. So depending on what happens tomorrow, I don't know, I may come on and actually do like a little watch thing and just let it run throughout the day since it's streaming from Courttv. I am not sure yet, but we will definitely keep our eyes and our ears open so that we can be updated on what is going on with this Darrell Brooks trial. So you guys that are in here, thank you for tuning in. We had a small group today. That is okay. Hope you guys got something out of it. Hope it got your wheels spinning. I hope it has you thinking about some things. Yeah, definitely thinking about some things. If you haven't hit that like button coming in, please hit the like button going out. Like the video, share the video, and if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel so we can get these numbers moving a little bit, people. With that being said, if I don't see you guys tomorrow, then I'll probably see you the day after, because once this verdict comes in, we'll definitely be having some more conversations, because I think people feel like Darrell is going to show out in the courtroom when the verdict is read. I don't believe so. He already knows what he's facing. He already knows what he's facing. So at this point, you know, we just gonna see what happens. So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Get plenty of rest, no stress, and I'll see you next time. Bye.